Welcome to this episode. Have you subscribed yet? The mystery of the mountain ghost's marriage in Ghost Opera in Yinshan, Records of the Nuo Mask and the Sunken Coffin. Chapter 19. The 10-Year Ledger in the Human Pillar's Secret Chamber. The rain pounded on the blue tiles, creating a dense drumbeat. Su Wangyan gasped for breath as he pressed himself against the crack of the door of Lin Wanshan's office. The pagoda wood birthmark on his palm was vibrating slightly towards the door lock. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, yet the oil lamp in the village head's office was eerily lit. A swaying human shadow was projected onto the window paper. It was Lin Wanshan's habitual hunchbacked posture, but when he turned around, there was a joint distortion that didn't belong to a human. Click! The burning sensation of the birthmark suddenly disappeared, and the copper lock opened accordingly. Su Wangyan slipped in. A musty smell mixed with the earthy odor of the red sand from the bottom of the river rushed towards him. A faint light seeped from the hidden compartment behind the desk, like a half-opened eye. He remembered the note that Chen Qiazi had stuffed into his hand before his death. The third button of Lin Wanshan's opera master's robe hides a rubbing of the river god's sacrifice stele. At this moment, that button was lying in his pocket, and the Nuo opera mask pattern on its surface still carried his body temperature. There were 5 account books stacked in the hidden compartment. The cover of the topmost one read, Record of Yinshan Sacrifice, 1937, exactly the one that Chen Qiazi had taken out when he resurrected. As soon as his fingers touched the yellowed paper pages, a sound of stone coffins colliding suddenly came from the Yinshui River outside the window. 19 stone coffins emerged from the water at a strange angle. The Nuo opera masks on the inner side of the coffin lids glowed red in the rain curtain. In the eye socket of each mask, his figure at this moment was reflected. He opened the page with a red string clipped. The ink marks of 1937 were particularly dazzling in the flashlight beam. Original scheduled human pillar, Lin Yunyang. Replacement record. On the 8th day of the 4th lunar month, Su Xunyang volunteered to replace her, claiming that the fetus in her womb was completely in line with the twins pattern on the river god stele. Alteration of the sacrifice ceremony. Cut off the left arm branch of the mountain god pagoda tree. Soak the pagoda wood tablet with the fetus's blood, and engrave the incantation, Twin Fiends Can Substitute, at 7 nodes of the river god's vein. Su Wangyan's temples throbbed violently. His gaze was fixed on the paper by the red pen remarks. The twin fiends appear, and the river, God's vein, is in chaos. The mother's blood is needed to nourish the soul, and a female body to bear the fiends. Next to it was drawn 2 overlapping coffin shapes, with a birthmark pattern identical to that on his left ring finger embedded in the middle. Above the coffin shapes, the outline of the 1,000-hand corpse god was oozing ink. Each hand held a stone coffin engraved with his name. Half of an old photo was pasted on the edge of the account book. The young Su Xunyang was holding a baby in swaddling clothes, and the Nuo opera mask pattern on the swaddling clothes was oozing blood. He suddenly remembered that the coffin-shaped birthmark on the back of Lin Yunyang's neck only appeared after his mother was laid in the coffin. It turned out that it wasn't a birthmark, but an anchor point left by the river God's vein on the twin fiends. List of candidates for the 20th human pillar in 1947. The title of the next account book made his breath catch. In the center of the page was drawn the twin fiend symbol in cinnabar. Between the 2 overlapping coffin shapes were his and Lin Yunyang's birth dates, and under the word Su Wangyan were marked the eye-catching words sacrifice. What made his heart pound even more was that a 1,000-hand mark was drawn next to the death date of each human pillar. Only on the day his mother was laid in the coffin in 1993, the mark split in half, the moment when the twin fiends were born. When he turned to the record of 1993, his finger was suddenly cut by the edge of the paper page. Blood dripped onto the entry, Su Wangyan, unborn, and the ink actually began to flow, revealing the handwriting of his mother. Wangyan's soul has been injected into Yunyang's body. From now on, they share a living soul like 2 stone coffins at the bottom of the river. They seem separate, but actually share the same coffin lid. On the back of the paper page was a 1,000-hand diagram painted with fetal hair. His name was engraved in the palm of each hand. Click! The oil lamp suddenly went out. In the dark, Su Wanyan felt a depression on the fengdi of the account book. The moment he pressed it, the sound of a stone mill turning came from the depths of the hidden compartment. When the flashlight beam lit up again, the secret room in front of him made his hair stand on end. 19 miniature stone coffins were nailed to the wall. The faces of the previous human pillars were engraved on each coffin lid, and on the inner side of the coffin lid of the 20th stone coffin in the center was pasted a photo of him from his college days. Below, the photo was engraved with a fingernail. Your first cry was in the stone coffin at the bottom of the river. The stone coffin on the far left suddenly made a click sound, and the coffin lid cracked open a slit, revealing the stub of a theater ticket from 1937, exactly the remaining page at the bottom of Qian Xiaozi's coffin. Su Wanyan picked up the theater ticket, and the signature of the ticket inspector on the back suddenly flowed, turning into the handwriting of his mother, Su Xunyang. On the winter solstice in 1937, Lin Wanshen controlled the tomb keeper of Luo Men with the mountain god curse. Since then, Qinazi's soul summoning paper figure has endured the backlash for him. He remembered that Qinxiazi's shoes had never been stained with river water. It turned out that that body was just an empty shell made of pagoda wood and obsession. Half a piece of yellow paper fell out from the last page of the account book, a torn page from his mother's diary. The blood of the twin fiends can activate the amputated limb and also purify the evil, but the prerequisite is the handwriting was submerged by bloodstains here. On the back was drawn the outline of the stilted buildings in Qian region, with the same copper bell as Chen Tiazi's hanging from the corner of the building. Su Wanyan's birthmark suddenly spread to his wrist. Each texture coincided with the annual rings of the mountain god pagoda tree, and the coffin group outside the window was now arranged in the shape of the Chinese character Qian. "You shouldn't have come here." Lin Chan's voice came from above. Su Wanyan looked up and saw the 20th Nuo opera mask hanging upside down on the ceiling. The distorted face of the village head was reflected in the eye sockets of the mask. "I made a mistake in 1937, allowing the twin fiends to be born. And I made another mistake in 1993 by not retrieving your soul in time." On the back of his neck, the pagoda tree root-shaped scars were growing along the spine. Each texture corresponded to the 1,000-hand pattern in the account book. Su Wanyan took a half step back and bumped into the counter filled with pagoda wood tablets. The birth dates of the whole village on the back of the tablets were rearranging. Finally, a complete 1,000-hand outline was formed at the positions of Su Wanyan and Lin Yunyang, and the name of his mother, Su Xunyang, was at the heart position of the 1,000-hand. He suddenly remembered what Chen Xiaozi had said. Luo Men has guarded the 1,000-hand's amputated limb for generations, but they don't know that the twin fiends are the biggest seal. Take a look at this. Lin Wanshan threw over a leather-bound notebook. The 5 characters technique of human pillar regeneration on the cover had faded. Su Wanyan opened it. Inside, it was detailed how to resurrect the 1,000-hand corpse god through the blood of the twin fiends. Take the left ring finger bone of the twin fiends, engrave the river god incantations on the 20th stone coffin, use their blood to activate the amputated limb. When the 1,000 hands open their eyes. In the illustration, Su Wanyan wearing a mask was stabbing a broken knife into Lin Yunyang's heart, and in the pupils of the corpse god was reflected the destruction of the Yinshan village. The notebook fell to the ground, revealing a rubbing of a silver bracelet clipped inside. Su Wanyan recognized that it was the inner circle engraving of his mother's silver bracelet. At this moment, a complete incantation appeared on the rubbing. When the twin fiends return to their positions, it is the day when the broken knife is formed. Use the blood of the god servant to cut off the pulse of the fierce god. He finally understood that Chen Jiazi's resurrection, the strange changes of the river lantern paper figures, and even Lin Guanshen's madness were all parts of the ancient sacrifice ceremony. And he and Lin Yunyang had already been engraved into the ribs of the 1,000-hand corpse god on the snowy night in 1937. In 1937, your father knelt under the mountain god pagoda tree and exchanged 10 years of his life for his daughter to be exempted from being a human pillar. Lin Wanshan's voice suddenly softened, as if he was recalling a warm afternoon. But he didn't know that the human pillar of the river god's sacrifice had already been targeted by the 1,000 hands amputated limb. The moment your mother cut open her abdomen, the blood of the twin fiends was destined to flow into the eye sockets of the corpse god. He pointed to the 1,000-hand mural on the wall. The name of each previous human pillar was engraved in the palm of each hand. Yunyang should have been the 19th one, and your mother the 20th, but your blood... Before he could finish speaking, a loud noise came from the Yinshui River. The 20th stone coffin broke through the water, and the coffin lid opened automatically. 2 items were neatly placed inside: Lin Yunyang's white coat and a pagoda wood tablet engraved with the words Luo Men. Su Wanyan's silver bracelet suddenly became hot, and the surface of the bracelet reflected the scene of his mother being laid in the coffin. There was a hideous scar on her abdomen, but she was smiling at the Nuo Opera mask on the inner side of the coffin lid, and in the eye sockets of that mask was his reflection at this moment. Go to Qian region, Wanyan. Lin Wanshun suddenly turned around. The pagoda tree root scars bulging on his hunchback actually formed a clenched hand. The tomb keepers of Luo Men are waiting for you in the stilted building. They will tell you. His voice was interrupted by thunder. The coffin group began to sink, and only the 20th one remained on the water surface. A note slowly rose from the coffin. On it was the handwriting of his mother. The right hand of the 1,000 hands is hidden in the broken finger of the corpse driver. Su Wangyan grabbed the account books and the notebook and stumbled out of the secret room. Rainwater dripped along the eaves and gathered into a coffin-shaped puddle on the blue stone slab, reflecting the silver bracelet on his wrist. The engraving on the inner circle of the bracelet finally became clear. The blood of the twin fiends is the key to the godhood and also the lock of the seal. Behind him, the sound of wood breaking came from Lin Wanshen's office, accompanied by the aroma of burning pagoda wood, which was the smell of the soul summoning paper figure dissipating. The rain washed over the Yinshan village. Su Wanyan stood under the broken branch of the mountain god pagoda tree and opened the account book of 1937. Among the yellowed paper pages, a rubbing of a baby's footprint quietly slipped out. The edge of the footprint was printed with his mother's fingerprint, and on the back of the rubbing was the last line of words written in menstrual blood. My Wangyan is not a sacrifice, but a key. In the distance, the river lanterns on the Yinshui River flickered, much like the starlight on the night his mother was laid in the coffin in 1993. Su Wanyan touched the birthmark on his left ring finger and suddenly heard a sound of paper tearing behind him. Turning around, he saw that the 3 characters Su Zhenyang in the account book were oozing blood. The blood beads gathered into a 1,000-hand pattern on the ground, and in the center of the pattern were his and Lin Yunyang's overlapping birth dates, the destiny of the twin fiends at the deepest part of the river god's vein. The end of this episode. The story continues. Subscribe now.